Today on Awakening with Amy, how to choose the reality that you desire with Neville Goddard's Law of Assumption. Welcome, I'm Amy Valentine, here to help you create a mindset that you can be, do, and have any desire so you can awaken your ideal life. And today we're going to talk about Neville Goddard's Law of Assumption. What's the power of the Law of Assumption, this teaching? And really, so we can understand how to manifest what we prefer. So before we get started, just a reminder, in the description below, there is a link to a guided meditation that comes with an affirmation guide. And also, there's a link to purchase a journal if you like to write like I do. So today, I'm going to do a deep dive into Neville Goddard's Law of Assumption and understanding the power in this teaching. Because once you really understand it and embody the teaching, it really becomes the way you can shift anything in your life. And look, that's what we're here. Like, I feel like every week we're just leveling up, we're getting better, we're awakening, every time I talk to somebody, whether it's a friend or a client, or just even in the chat, when you guys comment below, I feel like we're all leveling up together. And that's what this channel is all about, raising our consciousness so we can live our ideal. So, Law of Assumption is really another way to say the law of being. Neville likes to say that our imagination is who and what we are assuming we are. Our human imagination is the God of our reality, is what he says. It's the one and only creator. Our consciousness, what we're shining our light on, what we're imagining to be true for us, is what we experience. So, to understand Neville's Law of Assumption is to understand the law of being, the universal law, like Nikola Tesla said, that if you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. In other words, if you want to understand how the universe works, how your life works, don't look at the physical world. Look at the unseen world of energy, vibration, and frequency. And that's what the Law of Assumption is all about. I looked up the word assumption, and the Oxford Dictionary says that the definition of an assumption is a belief or a feeling that something is true or that something will happen, but there's no proof. The power in that is the power of the Law of Assumption. That's why Neville Goddard says you must be faithful to your assumption. Because if you look for proof out there before you're faithful, before you assume it, that's why it eludes you. That's why you're not manifesting what you want and you're getting more of what you don't want, because you're focused on the lack of it instead of the having of it. And that's the power. You can assume anything you want, but you don't have to even believe it. You can assume whatever you want because your imagination has the power. He says consciousness is one, manifesting itself in legions of forms. That means, that's what in scripture, when they said, let the weak man say, I am strong. The I, think about the I as your imagination. Your beingness, I amness, your beingness. So if I am imagining I am weak, that will be my experience, right? If I say, wait, if I understand the basis of the Law of Assumption and I can assume whatever I want, that's me taking my power back, being a conscious creator and saying, I don't need the proof and evidence. The proof and evidence is within me. What I say goes. I am the operant power, like Neville says. When you really own that, then everything else opens up, meaning you start to see, you start to pay attention, you start to really, be careful about what you contemplate, because think about it. We're only really ever contemplating ourselves, even when we're thinking about material objects or other people or situations. We're only ever, we're the one imagining it. And what we say goes. How we define it is everything. And that's why you can assume anything, because your human imagination can assume anything. You can do whatever you want in your imagination. If you don't believe that, if you don't own that and embody that, then you're the seeker. You're always seeking outside yourself for validation, seeking outside yourself for answers, being the seeker instead of being the source of your desires. That's why Neville said to desire a state is to have it. He was speaking to I believe, the verse in John 14:2-6, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. In my Father's house, my human imagination, there are many mansions, many states of consciousness, many ideas I can contemplate, many mansions I can enter or not enter. It's my choice. Let's read a Neville Goddard quote and we'll get deeper into this video. This is really powerful today. I can feel it buzzing through me. To attempt to change the world before we change our concept of ourselves is to struggle against the nature of things. Neville Goddard. To attempt to change the outer world, the people, the circumstances, without first changing who and what I am, my self-concept, is to struggle against the nature of things, the nature of the laws of the universe, to struggle against vibration and energy. You cannot manifest or experience what you're not already conscious of having within you. Like attracts like, as within, so without. That's what it means. So life is always molding itself constantly, second to second, minute to minute, day to day. It's molding itself. That outer world is reflecting how we're arranging our mind, how we're using our human imagination. And if I can imagine poverty, then I can also imagine wealth. And by the law of assumption, I need no physical proof or evidence of it. How powerful is that? It trumps belief. You don't even need to believe it anymore. Think about that. When you look at something, it depends not so much on what is there, but on the assumption you make when you look. Who am I being when I look, right? In other words, you can, because everything, you're defining everything by your relationship to it, your self-concept. You could define, Neville talks about in that lecture about the law of assumption, he says you can define your husband one way, and then you can go to your friend and he or she will define your husband another way, and you could go to your mother and she will define your husband another way. It's the same subject, the husband, defined in multiple, infinite ways, because it depends on the observer, on the imaginer. Your imagination is your creative power. That is the power of the law of assumption. And when you really embody that principle, you stop seeking. You stop seeking outside of yourself for the answers and become the source. Be as I am. Be the source of the answer instead of the seeker out there, where there is really no answers, not any that last anyway. So when you don't believe that your imagination is the one and only creator, you seek outside yourself. And when you know, be still and know, I am God. I think that's probably the most powerful statement. Be still. Shut out the outer world. Be still. Don't buy into the ego view of things, and know. Your heart just feels and knows I am. My imagination is the God of my reality. That's the law of assumption. So when your imagination, when you know it's the only creator, you can think about it. I can imagine anything I want. I can do whatever I want in my imagination. That's what let the weak man say, I am strong. I can imagine I am weak, or I can imagine I am strong. I can imagine I am poor, or I can imagine I am wealthy with no evidence, no proof, because it's what I'm doing in my imagination. If I accept that my imagination can do both, I will naturally start to gravitate towards my ideal. It's like the flashlight in the dark closet. Think about it. It's all existing. Everything exists. But what I put my light on, my consciousness, my human imagination, my awareness of being, what I shine a light on is what I experience. Doesn't mean I obliterate everything I don't want or I obliterate everything else. No, you don't have to. You just have to shine a light on what you prefer and leave everything else be there without resisting it, because you know my imagination is the creative power. Think about it as like, it's just I and my Father are one, but the Father is greater than I. The Father only sees oneness and love, unconditional love, doesn't see like the ego sees, separation. That's the cause of all issues, is being separate from the Father, from Source, from God. And when you realize that you're made in the image and the likeness of God, of Source, of Creator, that means you have the same power. You are the Source. You are the creator of you. Own it. It's not about seeking out there for your worth. It's about knowing you were born worthy and awakening to that, remembering that. You're already, like Bashar says, that high vibrational being, that soul that came into a physical body and forgot it because it took on the camouflage. You took on the camouflage of life, the character you're playing, like Seth said through Jane Roberts. That's okay. Because when you awaken using the law of assumption, I can't even say the word, using Neville's law, the law of being, the law of assumption, you can assume anything you want. And you'll start to naturally gravitate more and more and more to what you prefer, right? So, law of assumption, my inner conversations, my mental conversations will reveal to me my self-concept, who I'm being, more than my actual physical conversations with people. Think about that. Think about the power in that. If you want only love, love is all you will see, A Course in Miracles, meaning check, this is how you test it. Test yourself by your mental conversations with people. Are they the same old, fighting, bickering, battling? Oh, this is not what I want. Or is it new? Are you thinking about your ideal? When you really assess uncritically, be the uncritical observer and assess your mental conversations, they will let you know if you had a higher ideal of your self-concept, of yourself. And when Neville's saying, this is what, to just assume it, because to desire it is to have it. In my Father's house are many mansions, many states of consciousness. They're all there. I have to walk into that mansion instead of staying in the same old, with no proof. Remember what assumption means. Look it up in the Oxford Dictionary. I just have to assume it, claim it. And when I assume the higher concept of myself, it will reveal itself through my mental conversations. Am I having loving conversations with others or not? Right? Or two, this is another way Neville said in this lecture that you can test it. The basis of the law of being, the law of assumption. If you're still desiring it, whatever it is, fill in the blank, then you haven't understood that to desire a state to have it. Having a desire is not about trying to manifest it. It's not a labor, Neville says. It's to know, to be still and know that I have it within me. I can enter whatever mansion, whatever room I want in my imagination. Remember, if I can imagine both being rich or being poor, doesn't it make more sense to imagine my abundance and just leave the other, just be there? It's, again, the flashlight in the closet. What I shine a light on is what I become, but everything else is still available. So stop seeking out there for approval, for proof. You don't need it with the law of assumption. You only need your wonderful human imagination, like Neville says. And you can do whatever you want in your imagination. Tell yourself that. Feel the truth in that. It feels good, doesn't it? It feels easy and light, and that's how you know. Because what I assume to be true about myself in relationship to everything else is how I define my world. And I have the free will to decide, because everything in and of itself is actually neutral. We're here to get to define the meaning, so define everything. Assume I am who I want to be. And the outer world will begin to reflect that to you, and you won't keep desiring it. You'll know you have it. And that's what Neville meant by persisting in being faithful to the fulfillment. That's the feeling. That's the inner conviction of assuming your ideal. That's the power of the law of assumption. Assume your ideal, not just for yourself. Assume and imagine the highest for everyone else, not based on the past BS, but based on its only consciousness is only here and now. And what you do here and now with your own human imagination is who you're being. In other words, it's your self-concept. And remember, everything reflects you, who and what you assume and say you are. That is the only source of your life experience, and that's your power. The power of law of assumption, Neville Goddard. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for liking and sharing the video. Thank you for subscribing, and comment below. Ask me anything. Let's get a conversation going, or just comment, because this is the power. We're all just leveling up and awakening together. Until next week, see you soon.